joke.
Christian joke?
My Christmas joke?
Oh, yeah.
What did one snowman say to the other? Do you smell carrots? Come on.
That's good.
There it is.
That's good.
It's silly, right?
It's cute.
Yeah, I know.
Is that what they use? Nah. What the heck? Why did they make it seem like he came up with that? Dom's Christmas joke. Bernard in a tree.
Today, we're shooting a scene where I am
Yeah, in the pilot.
crashing. My section of the plane is crashing, and my
Other
seat
48.
happens to land in a tree
The other pilot.
very, very, very high up. And several of the people are going to try and rescue me and get me out of there. I'm a little nervous, but we'll get it. And if you see this and I'm not around anymore, then you'll know we didn't. The first time I knew was when the stunt coordinator who I worked with before, Mike Van Drel, came to me about 6 days ago and said, "Hey, how you doing? You afraid of heights?" I went, "Ah, I get it now."
I mean, props to him for really being up there.
We should climb up there. I'll hold him steady. You pull him.
What's your name?
Bernard!
You're gonna be all right, Bernard.
Damn, these are some fast extras. They were not playing. Okay, bloopers.
What are you doing here, Daniel?
Looking for you. Get down with your bad self.
No reason to talk with your mouth full.
Crazy bastard.
So like the next day, Buster craps out $1.35 in nickels.
He doesn't want to admit he's religious.
Jack, I need to tell you something. But I can't remember what the hell it is.
Anna Lucia attacked Ben.
Is there a lot? Jeez. Oh my God. You may have been to Phuket, Doc, but I've been to Platt.
That's it. It's kind of right there.
They said they would leave us alone.
Well,
We'll
John.
start again one more time. And go that way or that way. That's it.
Watch your step.
Where is this?
They said it was out for show.
Oh, the back entrance to the hatch. I feel like I saw some. I think I saw some of these the first time. I forgot about them though. When I did the stream, I think I did the first 2 seasons.
I love you, man.
All right, cut. Go, Tyler, please.
John, wake up. I can't quit you, baby.
Jesus God.
Oh, that must be Jesus. Yes, it is Jesus. He wants to know what kind of color you want of the car.
Hey, man. You been working out?
Sorry. You good? Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I must have been doing something. I must have confused it with the 900 trillion I am worth myself.
Doing something.
And this baby's made of chocolate lollipops, so if you'll excuse us, I'm gonna flap my wings and fly off this island.
Now that's sarcasm.
That baby is delicious.
He was your friend. Just
Just ruin the moment, man. Really? A silly bunch that back in the plane, huh? All right, so then the next extra is the Channel 4 UK promo for season 2.
One of us is a hero.
One of us is a hero.
One of us is a fraud.
One of us is a fraud.
One of us is a junkie.
one of us is a junkie.
Is that Boone?
One of us is a cop. One of us is a saint.
One of us is a saint.
One of us is a sinner.
One of us is a sinner.
One of us is a martyr.
One of us is a martyr.
This is definitely season 1.
One of us is a murderer.
All of us. All of us are guilty.
All of us are guilty.
All of us.
All of us.
All of us are lost.
All of us are lost. Lost.
Lost.
Damn, that was the promo for it? Wow. I think that was season 1. Yeah. Snuck its way into this folder. It's kind of cool. David Lynchian. Just a bit as far as commercials go. Okay, this one's Evie and Jade, which I'm assuming Jade is the baby.
Hi, everybody. I'm the sweetest baby in the world. This is Jade. And Jade is supposed to cry today in our scene, but she doesn't know how to cry because she's just the sweetest, happiest baby of all time. Aren't ya? Aren't you the sweetest, happiest baby in the world? Aren't you the sweetest, happiest baby in the world? Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah.
Babies and puppies and dogs and animals on set. The history of
Geronimo Jackson is they were one of those bands from the 60s that they put out that one great album, and what happened was Geronimo Jackson's the brainchild of this guy named Keith Strutter. And Keith came from Kentucky in the mid-60s, and he kind of ran away from home, and he ended up in San Francisco. And that's where he met the other bands. And they actually started out, their first paying gigs were at burlesque shows. They used to play the dancers on. And from there, they just started, playing house parties, and slowly they got to, opening gigs at like the Avalon and the Fillmore, and they never made it to headlining, but they put out one great album, Magna Carta, which unfortunately has been out of print forever.
Okay, so this is a real...
what happened was because of that,
Super fan.
Wanted to, he wanted that second album to be a Sgt. Pepper's. And they disappeared up into Woodstock, New York, and I think 71, 71, and they haven't been heard from since. And we wanted to just put them on the show because I think that
it's just sort of unheralded, in a lot of ways. It's like you don't want people to just.
Well, they're going to be remembered forever now.
Forget them.
Yeah, and I think that they deserve a lot more credit than they get.
Hurley's tying the music outside of the show is crazy. I think Weezer, someone had an album called Hurley with this picture on the cover. Someone told me it's crazy. Speaking of Hurley, this one's called Hurley Sweat.
I don't know. Guys, our video is frozen on B.
Cutting?
A lot of people ask if the sweat is real or fake. This is fake. This is real. And this is a mix of both.
Okay, yuck. I keep forgetting these are like extras. There's really not even like deleted scenes and Jack's trip. Okay.
Hey, Mark.
I already know it's gonna be something silly. Does he trip?
Yank it, Manny.
Like a literal trip?
Wiggle it loose, like a tooth.
Yeah, because I've had so much experience losing teeth.
Oh, well, look at you. That's what, 4 in just under half an hour? Let me call it again, this book.
Gonna help me? Because I got better things to do with my time.
Oh, happy day. Here's Dr. Giggles.
He's walking up. Dr. Giggles, and then he slips. Mysteries, conspiracies, and theory. Okay, this seems like a...
Well, I can't tell you my theory, but I can tell you that we did this thing thinking this would be a cool show that we would love. It became this thing that surprisingly a number of people embraced and had a following. And the coolest thing is to see that
creating
people
lore
are not just thinking about it, but are, you know, really smart about it and coming to these very interesting, you know, often very complex conclusions about what may or may not be happening there.
So this is about the fans.
My theory, I think, is groundbreaking. I think this is a plane that crashed on an island and mysterious things happen.
I was thinking of aliens, dinosaurs. No, what is this? What is this? An invisible electrical monster that crashing down the bushes?
It's all part of a dream inside a duck's brain.
It's definitely military oriented.
What?
And then it goes kind of metaphysical after that.
Hey, he's not wrong.
I have several theories. You know, it's just which one is the right theory. I'm not going to tell you what mine is.
Tell me where it is! Tell me!
The show has a very thick and complicated mythology that, you know, includes the Dharma Initiative, Alvar Hanso, the numbers, the hatches, the shark, all of this other stuff.
It allows people to engage and creatively start to hypothesize.
It is no different than when you watch a whodunit. There's no way you don't in the middle go, it's that guy. I know it's that guy. It's that guy because he's holding a fork.
Wake up.
Yeah, I did do that a lot.
I don't think we ever anticipated the sort of fervent discussion of what the heck is going on the show. Sure, we thought, yeah, there'd be a few people who would be speculating here and there, but we didn't realize it would become this zeitgeist, you know, pastime.
What do you got there, Rerun?
Nothing.
And that gives them incentive to add more stuff in the later seasons for people to catch.
I have been known to beat down friends' doors if I couldn't get to watch the episode. I'm completely dependent on other people to watch the episodes as they happen, because I don't have cable.
There's a whole core group of fans that have formed around the Fuselage, which is a lost posting board fan community that formed very shortly after the show began to air.
For show night, we have a thread. It's called the Watching Live thread, and in that particular
God.
episode board, where people, if they're watching the show, will sit there and talk back and forth as the
Fuselage?
show's going on.
It's crazy. I mean, people put more time into the theories of the show than we actually put into plotting the show.
We're talking with Megan. Hi there, Megan.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. We're taking phone calls this afternoon as we recap. Last night was a rerun.
Numbers.
But with the Lost fans, it matters not. It gives you another chance to catch up.
Exactly. I was actually looking for Libby in the psych ward, so.
I've been here 8 months, and we started just touching base on what happened last night on Lost. And next thing I know, I find that there were more and more people calling in, more and more people interested and sharing theories. And it got to be where it became a staple part of my show.
Which is what
Hey there, John.
a lot of shows are now. This was the first one to really create that.
Get involved in this conversation.
Well, what you got on your mind today, Big Lost fan?
Force its way into podcasts and radio stations and
even last
internet
night's rerun,
forums.
I still caught things that I, missed
On this
the first
level.
time.
The Lost Notebook is one place where people can come and kind of find the evidence to what may or may not be going on in the show and come up with their own theories.
Where are you going?
You're not the only one who didn't find what they were looking for.
I loved hearing all the theories that are out there,
And I love my friends who come up to me and say, oh my God, I totally know what the deal is. I figured it out. And they just lay everything out there and they come up with the craziest stuff.
There are these really, really in-depth theories about the Hanzo Foundation and about the Dharma Project and about how everything is connected. I think if you could take one half of Alvar Hanzo's name, who is, the head of the Dharma Project and the head of the Hanzo Foundation, and you take that with the other half of someone's name who was actually, an ancient expert in physics and in electromagnetism, they would make the word Dharma. And people come out with 15,000 different ways to equate the numbers to what's happening in the real world to what's happening in something else, and it all makes sense for them, and everybody has an opinion.
Hurley's numbers and the word Dharma are six numbers and 6 letters, and in the Bible, on the 6th day, God created humans.
My theory is that they're not watching, are they? It's a giant turtle.
I always loved this old Twilight Zone where all this stuff was going on. And at the end of the Twilight Zone, you pulled back and back and you realized that everything that was going on was inside a drop of water in somebody else's world.
The strangest theory we've come across was actually a theory we had ourselves, which is at one time we were going to have all of our characters come through the island and realize that they're in Disney's California Adventure.
And it is a giant turtle that is floating in the ocean, and they are all on top of it. And it is only a matter of time before they figure that out.
All I do is guess at home just like everybody else. I have no clue. No one gives me any privy information, and I'm glad for it, like I said, so I don't have to lie. I'm a terrible liar.
My personal opinion about what's going on the island is that you're gonna think I'm crazy. All right.
In the very beginning, all the actors, whenever we sat around, we would discuss the theories and whose ever version, whatever they read on the internet. I mean, we would go through lists of theories.
There was a theory that
that's
the
kind of
little
cool for
boy,
the actors to do
Malcolm
that.
David Kelly, who's a fine actor, had crash landed on an island on his own and was so bored that he started smoking bananas and he tripped out and imagined the entire show, which I think is good. But it doesn't make sense because that would mean that he'd be imagining like the producers and the SAG Awards, and I don't think a 9-year-old boy can imagine SAG Awards.
My favorite was the
What
one
are
where
you
there was no
smoking?
crash, and the crash was kind of like put together as a set, kind of, and we were implanted memories were given to us, and that's what all our flashbacks are. And so because the memories are implanted, that's why the same horse can show up on the island that Kate had in her past, because it's not a real past. It was put in her head somehow.
There's so many unexplained things that occur.
Okay,
A lot of people
I mean,
think
it's
that it's the
kinda-
government's doing it. A lot of people think that
It's
it's
kinda out there.
Mother Nature acting up. I think it's both.
My, geek fan theory that I subscribe to is the one that we are part of some sort of a conspiratorial experiment, that we have all been handpicked, put on a plane. The plane was sabotaged to crash, and that we were meant to survive. I think that human life and human casualty is just a given in this experiment, that our lives have no value. I mean, if you look at the characters in the show, almost all of us, if I'm not mistaken,
First half
really
what
have
you
no
said
ties
was
left at home. There's pretty
on
much
the
nobody who's
nose.
looking for us, nobody who would care that we've gone missing. And so it's safe. It's safe to expose of human life in order to study human behavior.
One thing I know for sure is once you settle with whatever
Well, I mean,
that you need
your
to
character
settle,
for
whether
sure.
it's letting go of someone, forgiving yourself, or forgiving someone else, once you've sort
Looking
of
for
made
you for all the
men
wrong
with
reasons.
that, you get killed off.
Michael?
So having
No
lots of
bull.
conflict in your character is a good thing, which means it'll make your character live long.
Numbers are
Right, when your
interesting.
character
Alchemy
figures
could
it
have
out,
something
that's
to do
your
with
ass.
it too. I think they use a lot of alchemy in the show too. They hint at it. They hint at stars and signs and masonry. A lot of that symbolism is in there.
There was a huge appetite at one point to kind of figure out all of the mysteries of the show. And as the mysteries became to get slowly solved, or we've been teased by them, I think a lot of us have taken the perspective that we'll find out in good time.
I'm really pretty patient about finding out what it's going to be, and for me it's just really looking one script at a time and incrementally finding out how the story is moving forward, and sort of my attention is more on a micro scale than thinking what is the big picture here.
Things do happen for a reason, and there is this sort of force that's in play that connects all of our characters together, and it's all going to come together. We're going to see a lot of that, I think, going forward, which is really cool because it has been thought out. It's not just something that's being made up. There's something very cool going on at play.
Oh, 100%.
What we have said and will continue to say is that we will not end the show with a cheat. It will not all have taken place in a snow globe. It will not all have been a dream.
It's all going to be about asking new questions, you know, to think about all the questions that you didn't know at the end of the first season. The second half of season 3 we think is going to be incredibly exciting in terms of opening up the show in a whole new way that I don't think anybody sees coming.
I didn't see the way any of the seasons were going to evolve and becoming, let alone the episodes. They did a fantastic job at keeping you guessing and adding to the intrigue and mystery and giving people, like, it became a dreamatorium, whatever you could imagine. And until the show ended, until we got the answers, everything was fair game, and what you believed could have been real. It's crazy. The fan service for this show is unlike anything else for back then. Now you can compare stuff, and people lose their, when Game of Thrones was coming out, like, people were losing their minds and stuff like that, and we're on the internet crazy. Maybe not to the extent of Losties, because this is something else. You know, this has a lot of spiritual connection to it, and it didn't come from a book, an already written story. There was nothing really to, you had to wait till next Sunday or Wednesday or Thursday or whenever the new episodes aired. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna watch is On the Beach with Evie.
As far as preparing for this season, differently from last, my good grief. Last season, I didn't have a clue what I was getting myself into, so there was no preparation. I just dove in headfirst and had no idea what I was doing. This year, I feel like my preparation was so much more about preparing Evangeline than it was about preparing Kate. I had to prepare my own heart and mind because I was really spun out by the end of last year. With all the pressures and the lifestyle differences and the challenges that had come along with doing this television show.
What's that?
What did I discuss regarding Kate's development with JJ and Damon over the hiatus? Over the hiatus, I had pretty much no contact whatsoever with my producers or other cast members. I just zoned right out of Lost. I mean, I was trying as hard as I could to remove myself and not be calling producers and not be calling cast and not be thinking about the show or trying to get a hold of a script. I completely just allowed myself to release myself into the bliss of ignorance.
She ran from the show.
I was ignorant all first season. I can go into second season ignorant and I'll be just fine. I relate to my character Kate in so many ways because I think at her core, her and I have a lot of similarities. She's just extremely jaded and extremely skeptical and sort of hardened towards a lot of intimacy and a lot of vulnerability, and I think that she has a hard time letting people in, and I tend to think of myself, and I know one of my weaknesses is that I wear a pretty hard shell on the outside, but at the same time I think there is a side of me that is extremely sensitive and extremely vulnerable and is easily hurt, and that's why that show comes up. And I think that Kate is very much that girl, and she learned that, you know, being vulnerable means you get hurt, and she didn't want that anymore, and so she put up some barriers. I always say that my
hard to hear over the
method
waves.
for acting, which is completely unorthodox, I'm sure, is I play make-believe. I get to set and I pretend like I'm 6 years old again, and this world is the real world, and this beach is Lost Island, and my friends and coworkers, the cast, are their characters, and I play make-believe. I pretend I'm Kate. Probably one of my favorite parts of my job is the feedback that I get from fans. My fan mail is like the highlight of my week. I love reading those letters and, you know, reaching out and talking to people and feeling like somehow through what I do, even though it feels so removed and detached from everyone else out there, it's connecting to people, and I really love that. Lost is a hit because
she's taking her job very seriously.
Because it's
it
goes
shows.
so much deeper than most television nowadays. Every day people grapple with what they believe and how they understand the world, and that's what our show deals with. It deals with what human beings have to go through on a day-to-day basis, and it just takes it though and puts it in a fishbowl or on an island, so that we can all watch it and observe it and understand it better. And through understanding the characters on our show better, I think that people are developing a better understanding of themselves. And to me, that's miraculous. For television to go from a place of separating people and alienating people and isolating people and detaching them from real life, to being a television show that brings families together, brings friends together, makes people talk, makes people interact, and makes people reevaluate who they are, is something really special. 10 years from now, where would I like to be? I am terrified to admit this to the rest of the
Look where it's at
acting
now.
world, but ideally,
Reaction
10 years
channels
from
and
now,
all
I'd like
that.
to be a retired actress. And I would like to have a family, and I'd like to be writing, and potentially, maybe influencing people's lives in a more humanitarian way, as almost everybody in the world now knows was my intention before I started this show.
You are going to be the Wasp. You're going to be a bug. You're going to be a superhero. You're going to be in the highest grossing movie of all time. You have no idea what's ahead for you. That's cool that she did a lot of behind the scenes stuff, talking stuff, especially in the extras, just explaining her character and what the show means to her, what the fans mean to her, her process. You know, it would have been great to see any of the actors do that. And we know how serious Evangeline takes her character, so it's not really surprising that we got her take. This one's called Rain Delays. Oh yeah, I'm sure there were plenty.
This is what keeps me dry in the rain.
Hi, we have good news and bad news.
I have to listen to it.
The bad news is it's raining like you've never seen.
It's raining men.
The good news is the surf is up.
The surf is up.
Yeah.
I guess what you should do is get the lunch ready, have an hour lunch, go surfing, and we'll talk again.
Well,
Sounds like a
half hour lunch.
Half an hour? She said an hour. Come on. Damn, that sucks. Whole day's probably got ruined, and that's money. And okay, this one's called Secrets from the Hatch. A pretty special one, if you ask me, before I even press play. Season 2 is the Hatch. Let's not mistaking ourselves.
We decided fairly early on that opening up the hatch would be the cliffhanger for season 1. We thought that that's where the audience expected us to end. We were not really prepared for the fact that the audience sort of cried foul and was like, well, we wanted more. We wanted you to go in there. We expected to go inside the hatch. And we tried to be responsive to that in making our plans for season 2.
Right. Oh man, what a way to kick off season 2.
It all starts with the story and the creative idea, and the hatch is something that we've been talking about for a very long time, you know. Finding the hatch and discovering the hatch, going into the hatch. You know, one of the very first things that JJ talked about in the very first meeting that I sat down with him was they could find a hatch. And I said, oh, that's incredibly compelling. What's inside? He said, I don't know. We'll figure it out later. But, you know, eventually later comes.
So the hatch from the beginning was part of the fabric of what I was excited about. And we debated in the first season about when to reveal it. And originally we were going to do it much earlier, and we decided to put it off. And then, you know, we played with sort of the timing of all that. In terms of what's inside the hatch, what's so cool is, you know, at the very beginning we theorized about what would be inside and how it would look. But like anything, it evolves.
Our sort of hard and fast rule was as soon as we found the hatch on the island, we had to have some idea of what was inside. You know, if a light was going to go on inside, we had to have some sort of idea, at least physically, you know, what was causing that light to go on. And it started to feel to us that the most logical explanation was going to be that there was somebody inside there. So then the question became, who was it? How did they get there? And what was there?
Early on, when Jim Spencer was, you know, building the set and doing all the sketches, we did a walkthrough, and we had a big conversation about the Geodome, for example, which was much wider and cleaner.
It went through a lot of changes, and it was more complicated and second-guessed than any of our other sets, because I think people were so focused. You know, we'd suddenly hear, after we had gone a certain distance on designing it and everybody had signed off on the concept and the look, and then JJ saw a picture on a cell phone and went, it looks like Star Trek, and of course it wasn't finished.
We started with an idea that we wanted it to kind of be like Tomorrowland was, you know, in the 1960s, what the Dharma Initiative's vision of the future would be in 1980.
It definitely seemed like a
as opposed to what
60s
the
bunker
future
for
actually
sure.
was. And then they sort of came back with a very sort of neat and clean idea, and we kind of said we want to dirty it up a little more. It needs to be a little more industrial, a little more concrete.
It was a process, but I think that the process of realizing the visual of that set spoke to the challenges of our island show going underground.
Desmond kept it very clean. Gotta give him props.
Hughes and Damon were sort of at the very, very beginning of, you know, what does this thing want to be? So we started talking about architectural philosophies, and the dome idea came from Jack Bender. We're starting to sort of come back to the 70s, so the dome was like a big deal. And so it seemed to be a great appendage.
There is the computer there, and there are very large cables that lead from this computer down into the ground. We don't see where they lead and what they are connected to, but it is a force, it is powerful. And it's also, the challenge of it was it had to be based on technology from the 70s. So it had to be state of the art for the 70s when this hatch and series of hatches were created. And it made a lot of sense to have this geodesic dome be the shape, the dome that holds the computer room. And directorially, I love the idea of it being round, because
There's
I
no
knew
way they
that
saw
whoever was sitting at that computer, we were going to be doing a lot of movement around them, and that was the central core of that set.
What's going to happen? Just push it!
So many great conversations and arguments and revelations happened at that chair.
That would be Jack.
For me, the great thing about the hatch was that we literally took something that was completely out of the realm of normal experience in every way whatsoever, and put it in there and planted it and played it for so long and in such a way that by the time you got in there could have been anything in there and you would probably accept it as part of the reality of the show. And it took a long time to get in there. It wasn't until the second hour of the season for our characters to get down there to have a look.
Through this opening here in this wall, everybody came from the hatch. The hatch is at the 50 feet beyond this and 50 feet up, and they crawl through lava rock and enter the corridor from here, next to this hugely massive styrofoam pipe that we made. And our painting team made it look very heavy and very old and very cool. As with a set like this, there are inherent qualities that I designed into it, that knowing that later on there's always going to be plug-ins, electrical conduit, there needs to be lights, there needs to be all kinds of different lights, there needs to be all this kind of stuff. And the mirrors were the precursor to any kind of video surveillance that they may have had in that day. So in the living space, which we will get to as a telescope that can tweak all these mirrors to look at any aspect of this space at any given time.
That was definitely
here,
cool
this is
too.
the control
When
panel
Desmond
that
looked
is
through all that
working,
when John first came
what
in,
is behind
or
this
Kate.
wall, and you can see it's in rather disrepair. Part of it's working, part of it isn't. There's the electromagnetic field here. If you have any metallic stuff on you, if you get too close, it will draw the metal to the door.
When Jack is walking down there in the first episode and he comes up next to this one door, this force pulls his key up against it, and there is this magnetic force that's ferocious behind this door.
But right through this window is solid concrete. So that obviously went to great lengths to seal off what was behind there.
The last time I heard of concrete being poured over everything in this way was Chernobyl.
So the function of the hatch, what it is built for, is because there was an accident here. Basically,
they probably
if you were to perceive
and drew every part of that hatch before they built it.
Hatch is a structure that is essentially a big thumb, and that thumb is sticking in a dike, and that dike is holding back this massive magnetic anomaly that is just sort of illustrated on the other side of this wall that makes Jack's key rise. That's what the design is, and it has to be there so that two guys can live down there comfortably, so there need to be certain creature comforts.
Interesting.
This is a marvel of modern convenience of the 70s. It has a oven and a cooking top, wearing blender, all the comforts of home, all very, very boutique and wonderful. Replete with turntable and 70s music. This puts on the emergency lighting system and sounds alarms and turns all the lights off as well. This is the main control panel given to us by the Dharma initiative.
And there needs to be, this geodome, this computer room that needs to be designed in such a way that,
real looking.
This one little computer, essentially the pushing of this button is in fact saving the world, every 108 minutes. But the people inside the hatch need to it needs to be fairly routine for them.
On this season, when we were doing the countdown of the button, we knew that every 4 minutes the alarm would go off and you would have to enter the code. So we wanted to find a sound that we could make our own. Finally, we decided that we wanted the sound to be the sound of at the market when you scan your groceries over and get the barcode.
That is what it sounds like.
Beep. So our sound guys went out in the middle of the night to half a dozen different markets in Los Angeles and recorded the beeping sound until we found the one that we liked the most. So if you listen to the show and close your eyes, you'll feel like you're actually in a market every time it's beeping.
You fell asleep?
That is the exact supermarket beeping sound.
Resting my eyes.
And that's probably the thing I like best about the hatch, and it sort of speaks to the way that Lost manipulates reality and the way that Lost presents reality, in that we're really able to take something that was completely far out there, but then because of the execution of it and because of how the actors react to it and because of the set design and everything, it sort of becomes the accepted reality.
To see this sort of man-made and all this electronics and this really intense
felt real.
thing,
Didn't feel like a set at all.
The sort of world that Lost has existed in at that point. And then running into this guy and finding out that the guy is connected to Jack and his backstory and how that's all connected into this sort of, I thought it was an incredibly heady and intellectual, philosophical story.
Which leads us to Desmond's beautiful mural. And it shows a lot of pain, a lot of angst. He lives on the shore, so he's got fish. The mural on the wall was done by Jack Bender, instigated by me, because I thought, here's somebody, Desmond, who we know now, but what does one single person do down here? Maybe he's given to painting, and we talked about muralizing the whole place, and then it sort of came to be that may be a bit extravagant. So I asked Jack, who is a prolific modern artist, to have his hand in it.
And so one afternoon I went in there, and knowing some of the story elements of where the season was going, I painted. I've been painting since I was 14. So I painted this painting in about 4 hours, and it's great because it all has to do the mythology according to all our internet fans. It all has to do with the lost city of Atlantis and the purple circle that's
so he had something to draw from fan
the number
service.
108 that's next to words "I am sick," which is an eyeball and an M, and the word sick, but it's crossed out. So it's wonderful to see what people have done with that whole world down there.
I can't remember whose idea it was, but it certainly wasn't mine. There were the hash marks. That there would be a scene in the second episode where Desmond marched Kate and Locke looked, and he sees all these hash marks on the wall, and you get a sense of, wow, how long has someone been down here?
These may be the days,
that was
these
a
may be
great
the weeks.
scene.
But there's 9,000 hash marks here. They're all
my
very, very
God.
different. Some small, some larger, some broader, but it makes for interesting wall. Behind you is
Makes you
the
feel
Dharma
bad for
swan
him.
symbol, which is the hatch number 2. Number 1 was the arrow, which the tailies found.
The tailies? That's what they find? That's what they call them?
And what is left of the pantry here, which Mr. Hurley decided that he was, when put in charge of this, decided he was going to have a big banquet on the beach. So what's left are just sort of the dregs and awaiting a new shipment.
It's a parachute.
All right, no one asked Desmond how you kept getting all this new food. I mean, some of it seemed perishable for like, what, decade?
In here is the small armory, which still has some of its weaponry and ammo and all that kind of stuff. Device that I spoke about earlier, and this pulls down out of the ceiling, and it has these toggle switches which operate these mirrors back there. And so he can do this from remote and sort of see everything.
Again, the idea of the hatch is there's this sort of very Jekyll and Hyde-like quality to it that was very advertent on our part, which is you are one person outside the hatch, but when you get inside the hatch, you are another person. It forces other aspects of your personality to manifest just by virtue of what you have to do there. How does it affect Jack's character when Saeed is beating Henry up?
For sure, that's the obvious
one. Is he willing to test faith and reason by saying to Locke, I'm going to let the button go unpushed, you know, because I believe that nothing will happen. I believe that strongly. I'm calling your bluff. So it basically, the hatch brings out the worst in you.
Even believing if Henry Gale is
the devil has arrived on the island and is
telling
going
the
to give
truth
you exactly what you want. For Locke, he wants meaning in his life. He now has found meaning, but when you sign a deal with the devil, there's always this Faustian side of it of, now you got what you asked for, but it's not at all what you thought it would be, and now you've got to deal with it.
And I think that was a very interesting thematic parallel to what Locke is going through. Not to mention that by the end of the season, Locke is basically, you know, a button pusher in a cubicle, much like he was in his previous life. So the hatch is like this cosmic joke on a lot of levels.
Wow, that's true. He was sitting at the desk. Didn't even click.
There are also blast doors. It's sort of right here. And that comes down, sealing this off. And there's going to be a like one in there and in the other area as well.
You know, we've had emergency lights go on, we've had black light go on, which reveals certain things that otherwise were hidden. But we try to present this world as it really would be, and at the same time, okay, now how do we artify it? How do we lift it into filmmaking and make it look the way we want to look? We went through a lot of conversations about what the lighting would look like in there.
In reality, Season 2 was about the hatch, and when you really think about the season looking back, the hatch has its own flashbacks. When you think about how much story it provided, just the armory, one room in the hatch alone, or the pantry, just that room, or the geodome, the computer room, or all the things that happened in the bunk bed room, you know.
I was gonna say the
Sawyer's
bed.
struggle with life and death,
Almost
to
died.
Michael's return, to Libby's death. All these sort of momentous things sort of happen in the hatch, and so we really had to plot out the design of the hatch in a very, very practical way that always related to story.
He said it was Station 2. It says Station 3 there. Wow. Wow. If only we can get that much in-depth on the locations from here on out, because the hatch was really the first location outside of the beach that we really got to, besides the caves, but that was still outside. This is something complete, like, this is a hatch. This is one of the stations. Okay, the fact that they called the tail section the tailies, did not know that's what they were called. So you guys probably been saying that in the comments too. I just didn't, you know, register with me, but yeah, that's that. Okay, seeing Walt. Didn't I see this already? Oh no, that was a deleted scene, I think. Okay.
Please record everything you are about to witness.
Nope, I would have remembered if it started like that. Oh. Can't even see him. It's so like pixelated.
Just start. Go back to where you were and start again, Malcolm. And go. Just keep going. Don't stop. Go to your left. Good. Get out of the shot.
Wow. Not too much happening there. Couldn't see too much happening. It was more about drenching a kid in water and stage directing him. Very huge scene though, and definitely blew my mind when we saw
Sugar
him.
Pop.
Abdul. Limey little runt.
Doc giggles.
Kato.
Betty.
Whoa, you got a little love connection brewing over there, Jabba?
The world according to Sawyer.
This is how people get killed in scary movies.
If for a scary movie, I'd be with a hot chick, not you, Barbar. Great plan, Moonbeam. After that, we can sing Kumbaya and do Trust Falls. Little Red Riding Hood gonna follow the big bad wolf back to his stash of guns. You can either call or raise or lay him down by the chops.
You too, Brutus?
Josh Holloway's Mr. Catchphrase. You know, he's got all these cool little witty comments.
Hey, we have to tell Kay about Jack! Sorry, sport. Just missed her. Her and Muhammad headed in the woods about 10 minutes ago.
Which way?
Don't sweat it, amigo. How about you shut up, Hambo?
Yeah, Norma G.
Your ranch disorder is going to be the new lead item on a coconut internet.
What makes Sawyer so wonderful is he continually pulls references out of thin air, theoretically. He's obviously very well read.
Folks down the beach might have been doctors and accountants a month ago. But it's Lord of the Flies time now. You heard of Daniel Boone. What's your count? And tell me, Ponce de Leon, which way are we supposed to go?
In our script,
they all work perfectly.
Kate, Thelma, because she and Claire were going off like Thelma and Louise into the woods.
I need a gun, and you don't get to ask why.
Well, Thelma, seeing as I got all the guns, I do get to ask why. No boys allowed, huh?
The ones that make me smile are the ones that involve pop culture.
Mean? Oh, yeah.
You ain't.
Huey?
You're gonna be, Bruce. Right now, Rambina and her buddies are trying to figure out what to do with us. Yo yourself, Pillsbury.
Wait, what did he say? See, they're happening so fast I couldn't even catch what he was saying. Wait, what?
Lead item on a coconut internet. You heard of Daniel Boone. What you gonna be, Bruce?
Bruce?
Pop culture.
You ain't. You're gonna be, Bruce. Right now, Rambina and her buddies are trying to figure out what to do with us.
Bambrino?
Pillsbury. How to score the house call, Dr. Quinn.
It's kind of like that kid who used to pick on everybody in high school or grammar school, but then, you know, behind your back, he'd go and be like, I'm sorry about that, I didn't mean it. I feel like I'm in grammar school when I'm around them.
Oh, I don't know, Mr. Clean. I probably would have gone around Mount Vesuvius. Yeah, I saw it, Tattoo. I just decided not to tell.
Why aren't you helping?
I am helping Short Round. Keeping watch for arsonists.
Doesn't matter what race, nationality, or gender you are, he's gonna offend you.
Next time Shaft opens a cage.
Shaft?
He's gonna get a surprising little howdy doody.
People don't take
it's
him
hard to
seriously
keep
in
track
that way,
of
and I
all
think
of
that's one of
them.
the things that's worked out about his character. He's so dark in so many ways, but the thing that people might be most sensitive about, he's not.
Well, gosh, you sure know how to butter a man up, Stay Puft. Hell, Bluebeard blew us up because they wanted your kid. Guess that's why El Jacko and Anna Lulu didn't ask me to join their revolution. Good thing you don't hate me, Freckles.
Now, Josh actually does call me Freckles a lot off screen because when
Oh,
he
yeah.
first read it, he was like, yeah, that's totally you. You're Freckles.
Doctor playing golf. Whew, boy, howdy. Now I've heard everything. What's next? Cop eating a donut. Where'd you get the hardware, Hoss? I got a few favorites. Gonna do you for a deep dish.
Stay out of this, Metro. Hey.
Sure you've got a load you need to drop in, don't you, Jethro? Ow, easy, jackass.
I wouldn't say they were nasty. They've always called me
Chewie was the funniest
Like
one
you,
with,
baby
with
napper?
Jin.
I'm a complex guy, sweetheart. In case you haven't noticed, it's every man for himself, Chewie.
I tried to get him back in one episode, and those who like hunt for Easter eggs might, if they watch very closely, be able to see there's an instance where I actually call him Chewie in a scene.
The new sheriff in town, boys. Y'all best get used to it.
In the end, Sawyer
sets himself up to be a bad guy too much.
Fun time's over, Mongo. Won't you hit the buffet?
안 되겠다. 가서 도와줘. 도와줘요.
And he's gonna get his comeuppance at some point.
You want me, Hot Lips? Gonna have to come down here and get it.
Bitch. Okay, like, man, damn, they had a whole segment on Sawyer's quips, and it's just season 2, and they were rapid fire. But him calling Jin Chewy, and because just because we can't understand him, I think it was in reference to Mike too. Like, you can understand him, something like that. I forgot what it was, but yeah, extremely clever. All right, here's the last one we got: Dharma cookies.
Let's roll, please.
Oh yeah, about twisting them.
Delicious. 8 hours of work. 290 homemade cookies stamped with the Dharma stamp. A whole lot of dough everywhere in the kitchen. But it was fun. 11 p.m. still stuffing the cookies for a 6 a.m. call this morning. There you have it. Get yours.
Some iconic cookies.
Got this
Dharma. Nice.
I definitely would have kept one.
Wait, there we go. It's this way. I was holding it upside down.
The mold was made by our sculptor, Jim Van Houten. And he made us about 3 molds, 2 raised ones to cut the cookie around, and 1 flat one to stamp it. So they had to be par-baked, half-baked, as plain, and then stamped, and then rebaked again. And then they come out, you gotta let them cool down because you can't pick them up fast enough, otherwise they crack because they're so thin. It's very, 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 very thin. It's less than 1/8 of an inch thick one. But they came out good. They're edible. They're 100% edible. There you have it. Your own Dharma cookies.
Nice. I didn't know if they're edible or not, but yeah, that's even more cooler. Damn, we got through all the bonus content for season 2. No way. That's all the bonus content for season 2. Now I'm headed on to season 3. I'm glad you guys were able to stick around to see this bonus content with me. Just getting into the hatch and seeing that again and reliving everything in there was so crazy. So knowing what's ahead for us in season 3, and I clearly didn't process everything the first watch through. Even I'm sitting here watching it and commenting it and eyes are glued to the screen. A show like Lost, you're gonna miss some stuff. And I'm so glad you guys are taking the time to take the trip again with me. It means the world to me. I have no idea. I can't wait for the season 3, 4, 5, and 6 bonus scenes and extras and on locations. The show only got bigger as it went on. So just to jump from season 2 bonus scenes to 1, it's like a trove. See ya season 3.